Hi, Dr. Sarah Glova. Thank you for joining me and being a guest on my Resilient Entrepreneur Show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Dr. Sarah Glova is the founder and CEO of Reify Media and also a researcher, writer, and speaker. You're all over the place. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I started my company, this is crazy, in 2012. Isn't that so fun? Thank you. I appreciate the nod.
Wow.
So I've been at this a while, but when I started, I was focusing on e-learning. So I was doing online training. And that's before, I mean, you got to remember 2012. This is like before COVID. I mean, I was one of few online instructors at NC State at the time. And so I was doing a lot of consulting work and supporting that. And it's shifted. So over the years, I shifted. I eventually stepped away from doing those big projects and stepped more into the consulting and speaking. And so that's what I'm doing now. I do a lot of professional development work. I consult with organizations to help them design their professional development. And I speak at a lot of events. I speak about topics that help people succeed at work.
I love that. And you were recently the MC at the Women Business Owners Hall of Fame and a couple other events locally. So I love that you've made a career of doing something that you love. That's everyone's goal, everyone's dream. And I think we've evolved as what we went to college for versus our first job. And then when we become an entrepreneur, like what really sparks our passion and our joy.
Well, my first job was at a dry cleaner. So I just stepped quite a few. And then I worked at Chili's for a while. We could do a whole episode on first jobs, but to your point, I mean, I love what I do so much. And it makes me so happy to think about like young Sarah, who I grew up, like I always loved a clipboard and a microphone, like put me in charge, let me direct folks around, let me, help everybody go this way or that way. I was kind of like the little cruise director from an early age. So to get to do this now, it's such a joy.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. This first get to know you section is just quick answer, rapid fire stuff.
I'm ready.
Who was the first hire in your business?
Vanessa. Oh, best human. Vanessa.
What did she do?
I brought her in. She was literally my first employee. I remember Googling like employee contracts and how to set that up when I hired her.
Oh, wow.
But my company was growing. I was actually still at NC State. So she was a full-time employee of my company before I was. And we were growing to the point where I needed support. I needed client support. I needed development support. She did a lot of design work, just a brilliant, all around amazing human and one of the nicest people I've ever met. Love Vanessa.
Oh, I love that. What's the best software tool that you're using that you can't live without?
That I can't live without? Canva. Thank God for Canva.
Right.
I'm not a designer, but Canva helps me design things that, thank goodness. What did we do before Canva?
I don't know. Adobe, I guess, maybe.
It was so painful too.
All right. And you didn't answer an AI tool, although Canva has some magic AI in it. What about your favorite AI tool, since AI is all the rage right now?
So boring. ChatGPT, I use it so much. I really do.
Well, if you've got it trained, it's not boring because it knows you and it's got your personality and your professional background and context.
And I've used tips from Jen McFarland, if you follow her. So she is an AI expert. She's one of my digital experts. She's always a go-to for me. And she has a lot of tips on sustainable AI usage. And so I've followed her for some of those. So boring answer, but ChatGPT.
All right. I love it. And then when you are hiring and growing, beyond Vanessa, or when it's more than what you can handle, do you usually hire full-time contractors? Do you outsource to projects or do you like fractionals?
That's a great question. Since I've been in business since 2012, it's changed. I used to do both full and part-time employees. I grew a pretty big team. But at this stage in my business, absolutely, hands down, contractors. I love working with contractors.
I agree. I think there's more people willing to be contractors and willing to do fractional and do projects, and they're not necessarily looking for full-time jobs from you anymore, right? And so you got to outsource the skills that you don't have in-house to give someone else's expertise.
And then they're really focused on what they do best. And they're probably doing that for many clients. But that means that when I work with them, it is that specific skill set that I'm getting. It's great. I love working with contractors.
And less training, management, onboarding, ramping up, right? You're like, hey, I just need you to do marketing or social media or this one thing. Yeah. All right. This is the fun part. These are the stories. We're going to start easy on the successes. Everyone has the successes that they're willing to share. So you've been a business owner now, 2012, like 13 plus years. Very impressive. Very impressive. What is your proudest achievement as an entrepreneur or business owner, and how did it happen?
That's easy. I'll say it was getting to do a TEDx talk, but not for the reason that you would think. I mean, getting to do a TEDx talk is such a joy. And for a lot of folks, it's kind of that stamp of approval. It's like that validation, like, okay, my parking has been validated. I'm supposed to be here. And it was wonderful for that. But I had another reason that it was really important to me. Back in, oh God, it was years ago. I think it was like 2018. I was part of an NC Idea grant cohort of new entrepreneurs, and we were put into a coaching and leadership program. And to make a long story short, as part of that program, I was going to grow and scale my business. At this point, I'd been in business for like 5 years. I had this incredible employee team. I was growing, I was scaling. Everything looked successful on paper. And I was miserable. I was so miserable. So
Yeah.
I was, doing everything I could to grow this company. And I had a coach, Brian Alvo of the Next Gen Leadership Center, in that program, who sat me down and was like, why are you focused on growing and scaling your company? And I was like, well, because I want to be successful. Obviously, what kind of question is that? And he was like, well, why do you want to be successful? And it was one of those conversations, right? And I genuinely,
Yes.
I'll tell you, Kate, I was like kind of annoyed with him because he was like, why do you want to be successful? Like, why does anyone want to be successful? Because I want to, get this done. I want to grow this business. That way I can write and speak about it and help other entrepreneurs. And he was like, oh, so you want to write and speak? I was like, well, yeah, doesn't everyone? And he was like, no, Sarah, not everyone wants to write and speak, but it sounds like you do. And that was such a moment for me. And I remember telling him in that moment, like, oh, well, yeah, I really want to, like, my dream is to do a TEDx talk one day. And at that moment, that felt so far away. I thought that I had to do all these things and be super successful and grow and scale this business and blah, 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 before I had permission to do that. And he was the first person to really hold up a mirror so that I could see that thought process and see that I was holding myself back. And so when I finally got onto that TEDx stage, I mean, I just remember talking about it with Brian that year, like, I did it, we did it. And it means the world.
I love that because I hear myself in that.
That's Brian calling.
It's like, yeah, no, I'll edit this out. I hear myself in that because I said the same thing recently, or a couple of times, to people, where I was like, I want to grow my business and exit and sell it. So then I have the credentials that people, and I have the story to share that people will want to listen. Yep. So I would love to be an author, a speaker, and a coach. That is my next stage, phase 3, right? There was corporate career, there's entrepreneurial career, and then there's my speaking, coaching career in my mind. So I'm in phase 2. Wow. And it's crazy that that was the same kind of conversation that you were having in your head, is like, I have to do this first to then have earned the respect or achievement or accomplishment to be ready to share a story, because we all have stories that we could share.
We do, yeah.
Right now.
And so when we wait for that credibility, I mean, what does that look like? I was talking about this to a friend recently, and my friend, bless her heart, as we say in the South, he was like, well, it's easy for you, Sarah. You have the credential. And to be honest, there are times where having a PhD, having doctor in front of my name does give me a little bit of like a, when I need it.
Yeah.
But what I was telling her was like, yeah, and people still criticize me. Like, I have a credential. And I still get mean comments on LinkedIn. I have a credential. I have a TEDx talk, and I still get terrible comments on YouTube. I have a lot of experience. I've had a company since 2012, and I still have people, especially at tech conferences, question my abilities, my expertise, my skills, who stand up in the Q&A and ask me questions to try to force me to verify that I know what I'm talking about. That still happens to me. There is no credential that will prevent the negative feedback, the criticism, which is a good thing. That means you might as well just do what you want. Like, just start doing it. Skip to phase 3. Like, you don't have to wait. If you had all of your best friends and people who admire you sit down and list all the awesome things about you and the things that you could teach others, and then you think about how you're kind of withholding that, you're holding that back until you feel ready. That's almost not fair. How rude of you, Kate. Share your gifts.
That's true. I like that, right? You're never going to be ready, right? Like you're never
Never,
ready to take that leap of
never.
faith in that journey,
There's
quitting
always
corporate and
another
being an
step.
entrepreneur. There's always, but it's the self-limiting belief, I think, is the point, right? And um yeah, and who cares? You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Not
Yep.
everyone's going to watch your video, your TED Talk, your podcast, read your book. But if you make a difference in a few handful of people's lives because they had the opportunity to hear about your story,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
why not now,
Why
right?
not
Why
now?
wait?
And might as well get started because the other really fun truth is it takes a long time. It takes a long time. So you might as well get started.
It's true. That's true. I love that. Yeah, I always feel like it's never good enough.
Oh, we all feel like that. Like, I hope it helps to hear that I feel like that. Every week there's some video or some post that I'm like not ready to hit submit on, but I do it anyway because the only thing that's going to happen if I wait another week, like maybe I'll correct one little typo or maybe I'll make the graphic 10% better. But then I didn't post anything new that last week. I
Yeah,
waited. And so there's less content this year. There's less for me to learn from. Like, just do the thing.
just do it. And I think people want, we were talking before we joined about like people want the genuine authenticity, the imperfection, the story, the unfiltered, real you, right? They don't necessarily want for it to be perfect or over filtered, right? There's so much AI happening right now that I think that human that has mistakes, that cell phones ring in the middle of podcasts,
Yep.
things happen, and
100%.
it makes it more relatable,
Mhm.
and it makes you more approachable, right? Like I'm like, oh
100%.
wow, she's a TEDx speaker and a PhD, and gets paid to do keynotes and MCs, and like, how do
And
I
she's
become that? And
doing that, but also she's still driving her kids' forgotten lunch to school. Like I love showing that part. And you mentioned in the age of AI that it's more true than ever. And I 1,000% agree. And I think that it's always been true to an extent. I mean, when I started really posting on social and trying to grow in that way, it was around the 2019 timeframe. So before COVID, if you can remember. And I don't think we were as willing to accept a lot of the imperfections, especially in the corporate space. I think we're more willing to now. And that's how I feel like I became different. I was a different voice in that space because I was like, hey, guess what? I had to take my kid to a board meeting. Here's all the terrible things that happened, but also some of the good things. And just the relatability of that, I think
mm-hmm.
for some people, not for everyone. Again, you're not everyone's cup of tea. I will still to this day get comments that are like, you should not be wearing those sneakers with that dress. That's not professional. And that's fine. I mean, that means that that person doesn't want to wear that, and that's fine. But I think that the people who want to see that are going to find it. And so being really authentic in that way,
Yeah,
it's always been more relatable. And in the age of AI, it's like a superpower. I mean, thank goodness for gray hairs and flyaways, right? Thank
right.
goodness for this. This is proof that I am not AI. And
Yes,
I'm very grateful not to be. So
yes,
thank goodness. Thank goodness for gray
yes.
hairs and flyaways.
Exactly, exactly. Even though we'll do everything we can to make sure they don't exist, but all right. So now we want to talk about the journey on the way. So no one is successful without having a couple of failures. Michael Jordan was like, everyone always talks about my wins. They didn't talk about the thousands of misses, like how many baskets I didn't make, right? Like they only talk about the highlight reel. And a lot of times, again, we're trying to be genuine and authentic, but a lot of times entrepreneurs, influencers, people only share the highlight reel. They only
Mhm.
share the achievement, the accomplishment, the success, the degree, the end result. They don't share the struggle and the journey along the way. When you get to know them and you realize what they were juggling and dealing with personally or professionally on their journey there. So are you willing to share a failure story? It could be a lesson learned, a mistake, a hard lesson, some type of growth that happened along the journey of your business or businesses on your way.
Absolutely. I will tell you right now, Kate, I always have a failure story. And I probably have a new one every week if you want to keep asking me. But for this question, I feel like I should bring up just the biggest one. So the biggest failure I have. And it's when I shut down a part of my business. And this was, so I already mentioned that in 2018, I had this big epiphany moment. And I could make this sound like a Disney story, right? Like I shared that I talked to Brian and he helped me realize I wanted to do a TEDx. And so I wanted to become a speaker, and bam, I got on the TEDx stage, like Disney movie. And of course, that's not what happened. Like, those are the highlights. What also happened is when I had that conversation with Brian, I realized that what I was doing wasn't working. I had hired this incredible team of people. We were working on really big projects, and I had to decide that it was time to shut that down. And I disappointed a lot of people who thought that when I hired them that we were going to be building this company for a long time. I sold off some clients, and those relationships stayed really strong and true, but I was having to tell people that I was changing my mind, changing my business. That was really hard. And I have never felt like more of a failure than when I had to have some of those conversations. And I think what's really important to remember for me is at that time, I had no guarantee. It's not like somebody was promising that if I did those things and in 4 or 5 years I would get a TEDx talk, or that if I did those things that, eventually those client relationships would come back around in a different way as they brought me in as a consultant. There was no promise of that. And so it was just me making these choices and the big scary void of, okay, what next? It was so hard. And disappointing people is not a skill of mine. I'm more on the people pleaser side. It was awful and a really, really challenging time. And so I try to bring that up a lot, really to emphasize that if you're in that space, especially as an entrepreneur, it's actually pretty normal. It's hard to break things down, especially things that you've built, but I don't know any entrepreneur who sets that Lego set up perfectly on the first try. I mean, you often have to tear down the things a little bit and build them up in a different way. And so knowing that yes, it's hard, but also it's normal can keep you from feeling so isolated, can keep you feeling like you're a failure if you know that it's just part of it. That is a real part of it.
Yeah, I think that's important as priorities shift to listen to what you need to do, but also be open to change directions or to pivot, right? And the continuous learning. And I talked to some people like it's never a failure, it's just a lesson. It was just a bump along the way. But
Data point.
it was a pivot, right? And in this market, like we have had to pivot in our business multiple times. Like, how do you react to the market and change your offering? And because you're solving a different problem, because people are paying for things in a different way, because the pain points have evolved and changed. And so, similar to software, like if you waited for software to be perfect before you released it, it would take you years. But software is continuously doing updates. They're like, oh, yeah, we had that bug fix. Every month, upgrade your app and you will get the new and latest version. And they're going to continue to pivot and iterate on the software because it's never going to be a perfect. We're same way. We're kind of version 1, version 1.2, version 1.3, maybe version 2 at some point, right? We're
And I
always being
think
upgraded.
that's the lesson that maybe was most important to me, because it's almost like a continuum. Because on one side, it's like, okay, you don't want to keep your head down and just keep pushing against a wall if that's not working. So you need to be willing to kind of tear things down or get the data points and pivot. And on this other side, I know a few entrepreneurs who will try things for like 2 seconds, and then if it doesn't work out and go viral, they'll be like, okay, never mind. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to launch a podcast. Oh, I did 2 episodes and I didn't get enough followers. Never mind. I'm going to start a newsletter. And it's like, wait, give that one a second. I didn't even know you had a podcast. I haven't even listened to it yet. Like, don't switch to something else. So there's this continuum. And so the question is, how do I know? How do I know if it's, if I'm over here and I need to give it more time, or if I'm over here and I need to pivot? And that answer is different for everyone. And I think being an entrepreneur is figuring that out, like listening to your customers or your clients, knowing what your North Star is. So, like, what is the big thing you're working towards so you can update that GPS as needed? That is the work of entrepreneurship, is figuring that out in the continuum. And so I think for me, like, letting entrepreneurs know that that is part of the problem, that's part of the challenge, and that's why you need a community of entrepreneurs and mentors around you to help you with that part, because that is the challenge of owning the business, is that continuum.
I 100% agree. In that community and that support of mentors or a board of advisors, or being a part of a incubator or launch pad, or building a personal board of advisors, or paying an executive coach. But if you're a entrepreneur, even if you have employees or co-founders or other, like, you need to be building that support so that you're like, hey, my gut says this, I'm thinking of doing this, can you gut check me? Can you give me the counterpoints? Can you help me see any blind spots? Am I too soon? Is this the right move at the right time? Kind of mindset. And so I think that's what I've been looking for and building over the last couple of years, is that support system and community of fellow founders and entrepreneurs and business owners. And I'm like, hey, you may have been down this path before me. What did you do when you got to this fork in the road? How did you know when it was the right time to make this choice, this decision?
100%. I love that so much. My favorite definition for a mentor is just someone who is in the rooms that you hope to be in 5 years. And I've had so many mentors like that over the years. But I've also had on my personal board of directors accountability partners. So people who are like in the weeds doing the thing also and are helping to keep me accountable. I've had coaches. So you mentioned earlier, you can hire a coach. When I was early in my business, I bartered. I did social media content for a coach and we traded because I couldn't afford one. But a coach doesn't have to be the executive coach or the leadership coach. It's just anyone who can provide feedback on the work that you're doing in real time from the sidelines, right? And so when you look at your personal board of directors, it's making sure that, yes, you have the mentors, but also the accountability partners, the coaches, and then the inspiration. I need inspiration. And for inspiration, I need people who know what my Tuesdays look like. So a typical Tuesday night for me, packing lunches, trying to find my kids' shoes, like whatever that is, I need people who are working on really big things and have the same Tuesday nights that I have. And I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who, they're caring for aging parents, or
Yep.
they're, the only person of color that they know in their local environment industry. And so for that, who do you go to that their nights or their worries or their concerns or their challenges look like yours? And once I figured that out and kind of build that personal board of directors, and you're kind of always building it, but making sure to have that in place that's my one secret to business. It's like, how are you successful? You surround yourself with that personal board of directors.
100%. And I love that Tuesday night, because it's also someone needs to understand my Tuesday night looks a lot like yours, because we're both parents with kids and working and founders and entrepreneurs, but that's different than a Tuesday night with someone who's an empty nester, whose kids are grown but has an aging parent living with them, but is an employee at a corporation and not a founder, right? Like, there's different responsibilities outside of our day that are governing our choices and our decisions.
And that doesn't mean I can't learn from them. I definitely learn from people who have different perspectives. But what I'm talking about here is that inspiration, that motivation, and making sure you have that. For that piece, if I'm struggling, if I'm having an off week and I go to my network and I try to get some inspiration, and I'm talking to somebody who has recommendations for what my 5 a.m. should look like, and they don't have to find the instruction sheet on the candlelight art project that's due tomorrow, then their instructions on what my 5 a.m. should look like are not going to be as relevant, not going to be as helpful. I need that. It's not to say I can't learn from others. I can.
Right.
And I just really need people in my corner who can help normalize the challenges that I have.
And it's shared perspective and shared context. And there's different people on different, that other person could be a mentor. They're just not your Tuesday night person, right?
Exactly.
I like that. Or the 5 a.m. in the mornings, right? Like, oh yeah, I would be so healthy and skinny if I could work out at 5 a.m. every morning. I would. Yes, I agree with you. But do you know what I do before 8 a.m. every day?
My job. Yeah, I have a whole job before 8 a.m. every day. Yeah.
And it's school spirit week and they have to wear a costume.
It's school spirit week. What is spirit? Oh, I love it. I need to be careful because I don't hate it. It's like, love this for the kids, love this for the community.
Yep.
And also it's like another thing. Yeah.
Tis the season. Tis the season.
What's funny about, so we've talked about kids, and I think I've told you I have a middle schooler and then I have a kindergartner. And so we're in kindergarten. We did kindergarten with my sixth grader. So I've been a kindergarten mom before, and something is back to haunt me. And it's the Sound of the Week show and tell. Do you know the Sound of the Week show and tell? It's like when they're learning phonics, they go through the alphabet and it's like, all right, bring something that makes the eh sound, bring something that makes the b sound. You have to do it on a certain day of the week. And it is
Oh no.
my nemesis. It's the kryptonite. have never figured out. I've tried calendar invites, I've tried reminders, I've tried setting things. It just always sucks. So we're doing our best. The best thing I've learned to do is to keep a basket of random stuff in the car. And it includes an A to Z dinosaur book that on any given day, it's like, you know what? Take the book. There's a dinosaur in there that makes the sound. Like, have a great day. It's just hard.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. And that would also be my biggest fear. I'm like, I don't know A versus E, like long and short vowel. I'm not a spelling teacher or a reading teacher.
The
So
really
this is,
humbling thing about like your kids being school age is like learning what you don't remember. Like they're
yeah.
talking to you about rocks and or you're trying to help them with their math homework. You're like, I don't know this.
Yeah, history. Yeah. Again, ChatGPT, they make AI for that. Oh, and now the kids know, like they just ask Alexa
We
or
do.
Google Gemini or whoever they use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, we digressed. All right, let's talk about the future and like what's next and like what's happening. So we're at the end of the year. We can either do reflection or if you already know your plan for 2026. I know we're all having those meetings of like what worked, what didn't work, what happened in 2025, what are we going to do differently to get different results in 2026 as we plan and grow the business. So what is on your plan? How are you planning to grow for the rest of this year in air quotes / next year?
So big planner. I'm a big planner. I have a TEDx talk about how to achieve your goals with a single page. So I'm big on using a single page to make a plan for your goals. And I have a template for that on my website. And I believe in it. I use it all the time. I use this template all the time. It's meant to be something that you use often. It's not something you do once and then frame. It's something you do to kind of reset and remember what your most important tasks are for that week or that month. So I use it all the time. And as I'm thinking about 2026 and as I'm using that plan, my big task is writing. So I'm doing a lot of writing right now. I'm working on a book proposal that's really important to me. And so if you see me out and about in 2026, tell me to go home and write. I mean, I'm trying to say no to so many things. I am teaching next year, which is a big passion of mine. I love doing that. And I'll continue to support many organizations that are important to me, like the North Carolina Women Business Owners Hall of Fame, like Raleigh-Durham Startup Week. But mostly I'm going to be at home writing. So if you see me out and about,
I love this.
be like, what do you, Sarah, go home. Go home.
All right, go home and write. I love that, and be the author because you're almost doing it in reverse. Because I thought you have to be an author before you're a TEDx speaker, but you were a TEDx speaker first. You're a paid speaker, and now you're getting the content to do the book. So very excited.
Yeah, there's no rules. Do what you want. I mean, genuinely, like, don't tell people you're a medical doctor if you're not. Like, I'm not saying credentials aren't real, but there are very few that we like actually need as permission to do the work that we want to do. So if there's work that you really want to do, just go do it. Just start doing it. Please, 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 because it's going to take a while. Yeah. One of the other reasons I talk about how long I've had my business and that pivot in 2018, it took so long. My TED Talk came out in 2024. And right away, I was so grateful. It resonated with people. I was lucky. I got a lot of views, and then I had a lot of new conversations from it. I worked with new clients because of it. And again, people said, it's like you're an overnight success. Your TEDx came out and everything exploded. And I'm like, overnight success? Like, I'm working on this
12 years.
So long. But that's just how we see other people's stories. That's why you have this podcast, which I love so much. I mean, call it an overnight success if you want, but please know that night lasted for years and years and years. So if there's work you want to be doing, the best thing you can do is just start because it's going to take a while. Don't let that discourage you. Let that inspire you to get started like today.
I love that. And the one page, because it is the goal setting time of the year. If you plan for your new year, I'm a big vision board, manifestation, pick my words kind of person. I just did like a focus statement for the year that ChatGPT helped me with my like reflections and stuff. So I love that one page. Download. I will be doing that. And I might go old school and even with my kids do like the cut up magazines and make the actual physical vision board. I cheated a couple of years and have only done a digital visual board, but
the old school, like as an 80s 90s baby, like that just speaks to me so hard. Like cut those magazine pictures out, put them. Oh, I love it. That's great.
Yes.
Do you know what your word for 2026 is going to be?
I have a focus statement. It's joyful, balanced growth.
Oh, I love that.
I couldn't pick one word, but there's a couple of key
It's a good
priorities.
phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a phrase.
I
Yeah.
love when I was doing that pivot in 2018, one of the phrases I kept telling myself is growth for growth's sake is the mindset of cancer. Because I felt like all around me, I was getting these messages as an entrepreneur of like, grow and scale, grow and scale. You're not real unless you're scaling. And I had to learn how to pivot against that. And that reminder, when I would start to feel the panic of like, wait, am I real? Am I a real entrepreneur? I'm turning away from the things that everyone says you have to do. I would remind myself, growth for growth's sake is the mindset of cancer. So joyful, balanced growth is so meaningful. I love that so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I have a whole little statement, but this is not about me.
Thanks,
This is
Taylor.
about you.
Thanks.
You kind of already answered the like, how do you plan to do that, and like obstacles in your way. So if we see you out and about, ask how your book's coming. Tell you to go home and write.
Yep.
But
Yeah. I feel like it's like, what's your goal from this year? Writing. What are the
right.
potential obstacles? Writing. How can we help you? Tell me I should be writing. Like, it's all writing.
I love it. I love it. So thank you again. This has been fun. I appreciate the vulnerability and like the open, honest conversation of being authentic. And you don't, we are all the authors of our own journey and our own story, right? You can't tell someone that their chapter 2 is wrong, right? My chapter 2 looks different than your chapter 2. So keeping on this writer and author theme and the imperfection and embracing the imperfection and just doing it. Start today, do something, make some progress, and overnight successes can take us maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Might as well get started because the 6 years are going to go by either way. And I love that. My dad taught me that lesson early on when I was thinking about going into grad school and I was complaining about how long the program would take. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it. It's going to take, and he was like, those years are going to go by either way. The difference is whether those years pass by and you have a degree. And that was so mind blowing for me. Like, oh, we think about time as this thing that we like have to put in. The time goes by either way. So might as well start. Take the little steps. We know from the research that it's those little sustainable actions that make the biggest difference anyway. So pick a couple of those this week. Your friends, Sarah and Kate, are cheering you on.
Yeah.
Give those a try. Be bold. Put those on your vision board. Cut the magazine pictures out. Ask ChatGPT to help you envision what your life could look like in 5 years, day to day, if you achieved this goal. Get some inspiration from it, and yeah, do the thing.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Those are a lot of great takeaways. We're going to have so many good quotes and takeaways from this. My final question is, now that you've been on my show, who do you recommend for me to interview next? You were recommended by our mutual friend, Wendy Coulter from Hummingbird. So now it's your turn. Who would you
Love her.
Who would you say?
Wendy's the best. And you've had a lot of people on your show that I just love. You had Ronnie Duncan. Love him. Ronnie's
Timely Text. He's been an entrepreneur for like 30 plus
Yeah.
years, right? I was like, you've got stories to share.
Ronnie's amazing and such a supporter. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about what he's done with his business is he's been such a supporter of others, of programs, of associations. He's amazing. You had Chip Kennedy, who I love.
Yeah.
Really darn Sarah Week vibes there. You had another Sarah. Didn't you have Sarah Davis?
I did, from Proving.
Yes. Yeah. So you've had so many great folks. I think someone that I think you would love to hear from, it's someone who I hear from almost daily because we send each other voice memos. We have like our own individual podcast, is Christina Marie Noel of Noel & Co. and the FISO Accelerator. She does Better Made Easy. She would be amazing. So I think she would be really great. Larry Long Jr. is a mentor of mine. He's somebody who's been super supportive. I know him through NSA Carolinas. You will love having him on your show.
He is super high energy. I've heard him speak too. He brings the gold mic. Like, yeah.
But you talk about authenticity. I mean, I think people meet somebody as amazing as Larry and they're like, there's no way this guy is real. And I'm here to tell you right now, like if I called him, I could call him right now. First of all, he would answer, which is just speaks to the amazing human he is. And second of all, he would be as energetic as he's going to be on the podcast. So like, love him. And then, God, I could keep going. Can I shout out a couple more amazing people? Because I already mentioned Jen McFarland, who I follow for AI and sustainability. Love her.
Okay.
Michelle Edelin is somebody else who's done a TEDx talk who I really respect and love. And she does a lot to support other women entrepreneurs and speakers. Dr. Amna Shabir is somebody who talks a lot about perfectionism and what it means when it holds us back. And she comes from the medical side of things, but her business is amazing. And the way that she's pivoted and created so much amazing content is just incredible. And then last one is Allie Ingersoll. She's former Miss Wheelchair America, after a diving accident became quadriplegic, and does so much for advocacy. But also, she is more than that story. She is incredible at giving folks the information and the inspiration that they need to see past whatever obstacles they feel that they have. And she's doing that in really cool ways. God, we are really surrounded by amazing entrepreneurs in this community.
It's this. So a lot of my speakers have been RTP based. I don't know if all of these people are, but this triangle area and the ecosystem of startups and founders and entrepreneurs is really, really strong. I love all of those names. There was too many for me to write down on my little sticky notepad. So we'll have to follow up in an email and invite them all. And then I will have the podcast for the next couple of months booked. It'll be perfect.
I love it. And then when you need 10 more names, just come back. Because like you said, I mean, this area, we're just so rich in entrepreneurship and innovation here. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm so happy to have you as a guest. I saw you as a speaker way back when, before you were a podcast, or before you might have had a podcast, but before you won and did your TED Talk.
Yeah.
And it was at like a women business network group.
Yeah.
And you were a young mom, and I was like so relatable to whatever we were talking about. I think it was about like people can't tell you, and about perfectionism, and I'll have to go back and look it up, but I'm so glad that I finally had you as a guest on a podcast, and we found a way to reconnect after.
Too. I remember that talk. It was Stop Giving Women Advice. It was
that's right.
About toxic, unsolicited advice and what that can do to women's motivation and their engagement at work. And I remember that. And
so relatable. I was like taking all the notes and like, it's like,
that means a lot, because that was quite a while ago.
Real. It was before you did a lot of the speaking and TED. I think maybe that was when you were pivoting from.
It was. Yeah. If we think about my overnight success journey that's happened since 2018, I think it was about like 1 a.m., and that overnight success, maybe because I think it was like 2021. I think we were in masks and had like fans and stuff going. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
what a time.
We've persevered. We've been resilient as entrepreneurs. We've pivoted and we've built support communities because we can't do it alone. So love this. Thank you again so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me. And thank you for doing this podcast. These messages are so important. I wish I had heard more of them when I was starting out, and I'm so grateful that they're out there now.
Thank you.